Welcome to the Coffee Snobs podcast, where we just really love good coffee.
So grab your cup of coffee and join us each episode as we explore any and everything coffee related.
From pour-overs to lattes to the coffee experience, we explore it all because life's too short to drink bad coffee. Here we go.
Hey, welcome to another episode of the Coffee Snobs podcast. This is episode number 5. Today's topic is going to be characteristics of a good coffee shop. Not to be confused with a great coffee shop, but a good coffee shop.
But a good one.
Good enough.
My name is Chad Lingafelt. I'm here with Aaron Beaver and Tyler Dancy.
Hey, hey.
What's up?
And we're gonna have a blast today. So, What's new, guys? What's cracking?
A lot is going on in the coffee game.
Yeah.
Just doing a ton of research, but onto some really, really, really good coffee. Come across a local shop called Enderly. Man, super impressed. They roast their own coffee, and my goodness, they have Ethiopian right now on the shelf that is outstanding. Outstanding.
So you just recently found out about Enderly?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Cool. I mean,
and where are they located?
They're located in the East Charlotte? Is that East? I don't know the actual name of the street.
Oh, I've never been there, but I've heard about them a lot.
But it's a very cool shop. The guys there are great. Go in and chat with them, but man, seriously, their Ethiopian blend right now, they're really doing a great job in roasting. So very, very pleased.
Kevin Starr brought me a maple oat milk latte from there before.
Maple oat milk latte.
Yeah, it was pretty.
Now, when I went, I had a honeybee lavender latte, I think it was. Because I like to try like different. If they've got something special, normally they've done it with care, especially like boutique shops. So we'll get into that today. But it was I go in and ask the barista what they're drinking, and I get them to make me a drink. And the guy behind the counter, man, he did a phenomenal job. This was a very tasty drink, well balanced. Lattes can be heavy.
So you walk in and say, "Surprise me," and then when they give it to you, you're like, "This is trash."
Well, no, I kind of. So normally a barista, if you ask them that, they're going to ask you if are you milk based, right? They're going to ask a little bit of different stuff. But that'll get into today's topic. We're kind of getting a little into it. But what about you, Tyler? What's in the coffee game?
Still making pour-overs and slinging lattes at home. Actually, Aaron was kind enough to share some of those Enderly beans with me, and I've tried a couple cups, and yes, very good. So
did it give you precisely 60 grams?
It was like 62.7.
I did.
So it kind of threw me off. My calculations were just really odd.
I only got 60 grams.
Well, okay, he must have liked me just a little bit, but like 2.7% better. Math is not as strong. Anyway, I'm just kidding. So, but no, Enderly coffee.
Yes.
It's very tasty, and it's cool to have another local shop here in Charlotte. Yeah. So,
and they've been around. I just found them, but I think they've been around since 2010.
Oh wow!
I think that's what it says on the bag. So they've been in the coffee game for a while. They recently just got, I think, their first standing location though.
Yeah. And they only sell very limited
drinks.
A limited distribution of their beans.
Correct.
There's only a couple of places in town that you can get them.
What about you, Chad? What's new?
So the Enderly coffee that you only gave me 58 grams of, I used here, and we made a siphon brew with it the other day, and it was intense.
Yeah.
Like it was good.
Did you enjoy it?
I really did. It had blueberry notes in it.
It did. So that is one thing that I really enjoyed about it, because Chad, he made it and he called me and I said, "Chad, what were the notes and the tones?" Now, he did not have the bag. I literally left him a Ziploc baggie with 60 grams.
And this is what I did.
And he drank it. He drank it and
blueberry
and slurped it. And then I was like, "Chad, what's it taste like?" And he was like, "Blueberry." And the first descriptor on the bag says blueberry.
I'm telling you, the siphon brew, it pulls
all the flavors out.
Oh, man, it is. So I shared some of it with Chris, too.
So that Ethiopia, that's the medium roast I'm taking?
No, it's a light.
Light, okay.
It's light, yeah. Very light roast. And so, with a light roast, you're going to you're definitely going to pull out a lot of tones. It can be a green. It can be a very raw taste, but man, they have done a very, very, very good job. So bravo to you, Enderly. We have
congratulations.
All been
if you want to sponsor us on future episodes, contact us.
Well, hey, on a side note, I did talk to their barista, and he said he would love to come on and talk coffee with us.
Future episode, Enderly Coffee Roasters.
It's going to be a pour over though.
We could have a battle of the baristas.
Oh
bonus.
My gosh.
Just
that would be fantastic.
But there would be weeping and gnashing of teeth.
So
and spilled milk everywhere.
And spilled milk.
So don't cry over spilled milk.
No.
I don't remember if I mentioned this yet or not, but I had some folks come by and I did a coffee tasting with them.
Ooh.
So I did the same bean with siphon brew, pour over, and espresso.
Okay.
And just made a ton of coffee, and they were, one, jacked up, but two, like you could obviously tell a unique difference between all of the brews. So
yeah,
cool.
That was a fun, not like, to your level, but it was pretty fun.
Well, you did ruin that guy's coffee experience because he went home and bought a pour over. If I'm not, is this the same story?
No, that's a different people.
Different story.
Yeah, it's just we're ruining people left and right.
Basically, our mission is really to educate and ruin people's coffee lives.
Exactly. You're like, oh, this tastes like junk. I need a big machine.
Yeah, but they did text me and said they were up till 2:00 in the morning today.
Oh man, so good. Okay, so today's topic is descriptors of a good coffee shop. Is that correct, Tyler?
Characteristics of a good coffee shop. Yeah. So, well, let's start off with you then, Aaron. What is something you look for when you're judging? Not to be judgmental, but when you're looking at a new coffee shop.
So, guys, that leads us up to today's topic: characteristics of a good coffee shop.
Yes, sir. So, Aaron, why don't you lead us off with that?
Okay.
What is currently your favorite coffee shop?
My current favorite coffee shop, I'm going to say not just coffee, because I think their standard is very, very high.
Consistent.
There are other great coffee shops in our area. Mm-hmm. We mentioned Enderly, but I feel like you could go to Not Just Coffee anytime and get a very good cup of coffee. So that would be why I would say that.
What about you, Chad?
That's a hard question.
It is a hard question.
I mean, my favorite coffee shop is the one in my office.
That's a good answer.
I mean, Not Just Coffee is a good one. The coffee is always good, but the environment is always good.
Yep.
But I would say, just to say something different than what you just said, is Queen City Grounds would be my other favorite spot right now. They have really good coffee. Mm-hmm. Really good options. They roast in-house, and they have a really good environment. So they have places that you can have kind of solo, quiet workspace.
Cool.
What about you, Tyler?
Gosh, well, I feel like I'm just copying you guys, but there is something about my home. I enjoy that coffee process every morning. But as far as like a retail place, Not Just Coffee, like I said, how many locations do they have now in Charlotte?
5?
Like 5 or 6? They're just,
because they put one in the co-working space.
They
right?
just opened at J Street.
They're always expanding, but they're just very consistent. When you go there, you're going to get a really good cup of coffee, and counterculture is their bean of choice. And it was my first exposure to good coffee. I mean, I guess I would say knee jerk. It's probably just my go-to favorite. But yeah, Queen City, been there a couple times recently, and it's very cool. So I'll say my hometown coffee shop, though, for now. Let's say Groundwork Common in Concord.
Yeah, they do pretty good. They do good.
They have Pure Intentions
yep.
is their bean of choice there. Cool.
So leading into characteristics of a good coffee shop, leading in, I would say I travel quite often, so I look for a few of these things when I'm traveling to find a good coffee shop.
So what are some of the key things you look for, Aaron, when you're traveling or around here looking for a coffee shop?
So one, not being able to travel to a place. Let's say I'm I was just most recently in Lexington, Kentucky, for a conference, and there were 5 large chain coffee places within a block. But I want something that fills the hometown feel. So what I will do is first I get on the Google Maps or whatever, and I type in coffee, and I look for something that is not a chain. I know that I'm not saying that they're bad. I'm just saying I feel like these boutique places have a little higher stake in the game, so they're willing to produce a better cup because they're not a big box store, that is not worried about losing, a little bit of customers. These boutique places, they really thrive off of a lot of foot traffic, and so they care a little bit more. That's not to say that you can come across a bad place by any means, but then I also look at some of the reviews, and a lot of times I'll call and I ask if they make.
He's that guy.
I am that
hey
guy.
Guys.
But look, I mean, when you listen,
you have like an A/B checklist that you go like.
I mean, I
What's
pull up
the
my Google
precise
Doc and I'm like,
temperature with your pour-overs?
so I mean, but
Wrong.
listen, when we talk about our travel setups and we're taking our own stuff, I mean, to
Pretty
call
snobbish.
and ask if they make their own syrups.
Fair point, but
Is it really that? Is it really? I mean, come on. So, and if you've not heard that episode, go back and listen to it. It's a really good one. But
Episode 4.
So with that, asking if they make their syrups, it just kind of guarantees that whoever the owner is or behind the menu, they care.
Yeah.
And that's really all. If you can find a good coffee shop, you're just looking, do they care?
sure,
about the craft?
and that's the elements that you're getting at. I mean, we're picking with you
Yeah.
about calling, but I mean that's
Not really.
that's what you're trying to get down
Yeah.
to is do they care about good coffee, or are they just producing coffee to produce coffee for
Right.
for profit?
Monetary.
So
Yep.
what about you, Chad? What is a characteristic of a good coffee store?
Reclaimed wood and leather chairs.
Listen, I think every place.
And you think I'm joking though?
No.
Mid-century modern furniture.
Yeah,
White walls.
exactly. There's a
High white.
no it's-
Yellow is a tone right now they're throwing in.
I don't know, but no, similar model. So I travel. I don't say quite a bit, but I travel regularly out of state, but a lot of even around North and South Carolina on the road. And so that's one of the things when I go to a different place, I want to try to identify a new coffee shop, just kind of check it out. And there's really a couple of things I look for. One is aesthetics.
Yep.
I mean, I'm not joking about that. Not reclaimed wood and leather chairs, maybe, but
And you were getting on to me about coffee syrups. That has nothing to do with coffee.
But the second thing that I do look at is I try to comb through the photos either on a Yelp or a Google Maps and see if they have pumps, or if they don't have pumps, like the type of machine that they have and the type of syrups that they have.
Yep.
That's really because anybody can make coffee. Okay, anybody can buy an espresso machine. Anybody can make pour overs. But there are certain things that you start to dive into that make it stand out.
Yep.
And boxed syrups and not to, like, that is one thing that people are either care about or they don't.
Yep.
You know? And so what I've found is if someone takes the time to do house-made syrups, then their craft of coffee is significantly better.
Correct.
So that's one of the things that I look for. Now, not to say that I won't go to a coffee shop that has
Right.
those other, but I'm more selective in what I'm going to drink there.
Yeah, I agree. It's not that the box syrup is bad. I just think it shows a level of care and craft to the craft that you're making, like to your craft. I mean, it's a big deal.
Well, the other thing too that I wanted to add on that is, talking about when we do travel, it again depends on if it's just a day trip versus, you're traveling somewhere for an extended period of time. But pour over and brewed coffee. If I'm going to go to a coffee shop, I'm going to most likely get a latte.
Yep.
That's the whole reason to go there. So that's why, and if they do have a house-made syrup specialty, that's what I want to try.
Yep.
I've tried lavender stuff before. Not so much a big
favorite.
fan of it, but whatever is kind of their specialty, that's what I want to try because that's indicative to that particular coffee shop.
Yeah. Cool.
What about you, Tyler? What is a characteristic of a good coffee shop to you?
Well, like Chad, I judge a coffee shop, honestly, my first thing is buy their lattes, because if you can't make a good latte, that's, to me, just not a good indicator that your other choices of coffee are going to be very good. So I look for, obviously, the aesthetics, a cool, welcoming environment is something, but I can pretty much tell you if I walk into a place and see they have an automatic machine or they're not fresh grinding their grinds, like that's kind of a big red flag for me. So I think a lot of, like you guys, I'm also a research nerd I look forward to trying new places when I'm traveling or just in a different area. So probably my go-to initially, I guess, for my recon would be to go to Google Maps because they've got to have pictures and reviews.
Yep.
And that pretty much tells me right away whether I even want to see about checking the place out. So I'd say that's probably step one.
Yeah.
Once I'm actually at a coffee shop, me personally, my first test is a latte.
Yeah. For me, another characteristic, I'm a very talkative person, so I'm a huge extrovert. I love chatting.
Could have fooled me.
Yeah, I know. So I love talking with the barista, and I'm that guy that will ask you, what temp are you heating your milk to? And just
and your response is,
exactly. They're like, oh, it's this guy.
And they're like, God,
he's going to leave us a Yelp review. No, so here's a story. Queen City Grinds in Charlotte. Went to their location. Knew they have a high standard for their drinks. But the barista behind who was making the drink, there was a line. It was not just me at the place, but was willing to chat with me and talked with me through her process. And definitely she cared about what she was making.
Sure.
Now, it honestly was a phenomenal, well-balanced latte. The artwork was good, but that's not even what I think is a great coffee shop. Don't deem a good artwork as a great coffee shop, please.
But it has something to do with it.
It does, because you do care about your craft, but I do believe that a non-balanced, non-mixed drink could be very weighted, couldn't taste balanced, and your latte art would be great.
Well, let me offer a counterpoint to kind of what you guys have been saying. I mean, yes, homemade syrups is obviously a good indicator.
Yeah.
And that's another. And if your barista can't pour basic latte art, just because you pour latte art does not mean that you made a good drink.
Right.
But to me, it tells me that they know at least enough to properly heat and steam the milk. So if I'm getting a latte and it's just a big flat circle in there, that's a red flag to me. So
basically what you're saying is you can make a bad latte with latte art, but you can't make a good latte without latte art.
No. Listen, it could sound that way.
It does sound like that.
But I think that's what it is.
All right, here's a counterpoint to that. A place
over extraction on your espresso. I mean, yes, the latte art could be amazing. It could be the most bitter taste of coffee that you've ever had.
It's unlikely, though.
Yes,
it's possible.
It is possible. I mean, listen.
I'm starting to question my ability to make lattes because I can't do latte art.
Well, I mean,
we've been meaning to have a talk with you about that. No, but I mean, I would say
such a failure.
It's not a black and white rule, but like I said, it's just an indicator that if they can at least pour a basic hard or flat, again, they might not be making the overall coffee might not be my favorite that I've ever had, but it just shows they have at least a base level of training.
Yeah.
Something interesting, there was a coffee shop which will remain nameless that Aaron and I have been to several times, and the coffee's pretty good. And we were there probably a month or so ago chatting with the barista, a young lady, and she had made me over the course of time, several really good drinks. And we started talking with her, and she's like, well, I'm not really even that much of a coffee drinker. So it was like, whoa, come again?
That is hard because at a coffee shop you're looking for employees.
Yeah.
Right? You need people you need employees, but it's a area that somebody that cares about the craft is extremely valuable.
Sure. So I mean, it was, like I said, you're working at a coffee shop and you don't really even drink coffee when you're not at work.
That's where I struggle because how can you taste that? That is one of the things that I struggle with. Like if you're there to make coffee and you can't even taste what a good coffee should taste like because you don't like coffee, it doesn't matter what it is.
Just walk out.
I mean, seriously, like please go get another job.
Yeah. So you identify it based off of a couple of characteristics through some research, and then you go in and quiz the barista.
Correct.
To see if it's
they must get 80% or higher to pass.
And then I'll decide if I'm going to order.
Here's one thing that I believe that is the ace in the hole. If you go to a coffee shop and you ask them make me a drink, and they offer you a cortado.
And what is a cortado for those uninformed?
It is an espresso, 2 shots of espresso, so 2 ounces, and 2 ounces of milk.
That's a pretty small drink.
It's
4 ounces.
4 ounces.
Okay.
Here's the reason.
$4.50.
Here's 5 depending on it, because they'll give you
little cup of water as well.
A little cup of water. Yep. Seltzer water. So here's the reason why I say that is a great descriptor, because you cannot cover it with syrup. You can taste if it is a sour or bitter espresso, and if they scorch the milk, you can taste it as well. So that, to me, if you want to go in and see if a barista can make a drink, ask for a cortado. I think you could ask for a straight shot of espresso.
So are you saying if they offer you a cortado, or if you order it and that's going to be your break if it's going to be good or not?
Well, I went to Remedy Coffee in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Okay.
Talking with the gentleman behind the coffee bar, and I asked him, I was like, you know what, man, this is my 3rd coffee of the day, and I said, I'm driving back to North Carolina. I was like, what drink would you make me? He was like, well, you like cortado? And I was like, bro, hold on. Are you offering a cortado? I mean, this is like risky, because you got to be on your game to make a cortado or make a really good one. And he threw it down, and I was extremely impressed. And so now, dude, if I'm going through Knoxville, I'm stopping by Remedy.
Yeah.
Like it's a place I'm stopping by because of that. That's a bold drink for a barista to make, because I think there's a high risk to that, it being nasty.
So what do you do when you go to a coffee shop that's got all the indicators of, oh, this is going to be a cool place, and you ask your barista for a cortado, and they say, what's that? I mean, can you be a good barista? Like, most menus at a lot of more modern shops are pretty limited. They're going to have an Americano, espresso, a latte, cappuccino. And for instance, if you have somebody who is an employee, they might enjoy what they're doing, but if they're not really into coffee, they just work there. Can they make you a good drink if they don't initially know what a cortado is?
I think they can. I think it's the coffee journey. I think everybody's got their on-ramp. They're going to have their strengths. They're going to have their weaknesses. So I'm not deeming them a bad place because they make a bad drink.
Well, I think what we're outlining here is doing some basic research and understanding what's important to you.
Correct.
And once you figure out what's important to you, then ask the questions to get to that.
Right.
And then you're going to know.
Right.
It's interesting. So earlier this year, I had an opportunity to do some overseas traveling, and trying to find a coffee shop in overseas was a different and interesting task, because you didn't really get the cool reclaimed wood and leather chair vibe, right?
Yeah, but weren't you over, was it Italy?
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that like the birthplace of espresso?
Well, it was interesting because, the coffee shops that we're used to here is you go in, you order your drink, you go sit down, you hang out. A coffee bar in Italy where I was at in Rome, is literally a coffee bar. You walk up, it's a 6-inch bar, standing height. You order espresso. They give you an espresso in a ceramic cup, and you drink it, and then you're done. Like, and
that's it.
It's not a whole experience that you're sitting there and sipping coffee for an hour and working. Like, you walk up, you knock down an espresso, you give them $1 euro or a euro, I guess, and walk off. Like, that's the process.
The only thing on their menu is just pure espresso.
Well, they had other things that you could get, but it was over there, if you asked for a latte, they were like, okay,
I roll.
Here's an American.
It's American and getting a latte.
But I mean, they were knocking out espresso shots like crazy. In espresso cups.
Yep.
Like, that's what they did, and it was fast. I mean, it was fast, and it was only a euro. Like, you could just go endless amounts.
And it was good, I'm assuming.
Some of it was, but I mean, that
But that Italian roast,
it was Italian roast. It was dark.
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 Yep.
So it's not my preference, but I mean, you experienced it. But I guess my point of that, it was hard to like it was trying to apply the characteristics that I would hear in our region overseas was very complicated to try to gauge if it was going to be good or not.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the descriptors we've played into the great marketing of the coffee shops in our area. I mean, most of them are really beautiful aesthetically. I mean, you know, they've done a very good job. High white, clean, you know, just some gorgeous facilities.
Well, and I know you talk about this a lot. None of us are really big fans of Starbucks, but you appreciate what Starbucks has done for the coffee industry.
Absolutely, yep.
And it's almost like Starbucks kind of created the environment, the culture, the hangout area, and everybody has kind of seen that and tried to take it up a notch.
Right, they have, and there are some really good Starbucks in the area that have set like the tempo, and there are some boutique coffee shops in our area that have taken it to an extreme. Like went to Undercurrent recently in Plaza Midwood, and their facility is gorgeous.
Yeah, it was very nice looking.
Gorgeous. Like so many glass windows. Like it was so bright in there. Loved it. The couches, man, were like
good leather couches.
No, they weren't. They were
leather.
They were blue cloth. But I would be so. I mean, like it was gorgeous. Like dark. Yeah. Like oh my gosh, it was. I loved the aesthetics of Undercurrent.
So
yep.
We've talked about what we initially look for, and obviously a key to having a good experience is going to be having a good barista who hones their craft.
Yep.
What about the potential opposite effect of that? I have personally been in to some coffee shops that are boutique, and what if they don't give off the best vibe? Coffee can be, I think a lot of people are intimidated when they go to a place if they don't really, I kind of like that milkshake type drink like a Frappuccino at Starbucks. Starbucks, for instance, has a large menu. If somebody who's not what we would call a coffee snob, they've heard us talk about, man, this place is really good, XYZ coffee shop. They go in there, but they're really not that knowledgeable. Have you guys, either of you, experienced baristas that are truly snobbish as far as like perhaps they do look down their nose on you, or they're not very
so snobbish in that they're actually unwelcoming,
I would say.
I think my journey started that way. I mean, I didn't know, still to this day I don't know all the names of the drinks.
You don't know what you don't know,
right? And you can walk into a place, and for me a lot of times that's why I ask the barista what they enjoy. It's kind of the safety of, if I don't know what you're having, I like coffee, so you could make me about anything. Just don't put don't put massive amounts of pump and
whipped cream.
Don't make me a Frappuccino, okay? Yeah. Like just make me a coffee. Like
unless
just go
really
straight drip,
outside.
Right? No, I'll drink coffee in the summertime.
Frappuccino?
Yeah, no, no. He bamboozled me. I said yes to the wrong thing. No.
What happened?
He said Frappuccino, and I said yes, and I was like, no.
You're a coffee milkshake.
So what if you go into a place that maybe does not have the most welcoming environment, or could be intimidating to someone who is maybe just starting to branch out into better coffee?
I think you kind of have to break that down into two separate categories. One that's unwelcoming, and they're like at a just an unwelcoming environment, and two, one that they don't care. They're just trying to produce coffee to sell it, and I think we've all been in both of those places. But one, you go in that they're unapproachable, and that's just frustrating because, again, as we were talking about, I guess in episode 1, it's kind of how we got into this process, and you want to be. It's part of the kind of the environment, the culture, the being able to communicate with people, and if you're off-putting in that, then like that's no fun,
right?
That's just a
poor customer service just in general.
Yeah, so Sunnergrass being my jumping on point of coffee, they have helped me so much in my coffee journey in that first year because I didn't know about coffee. I didn't know anything about it. So, Red Eye, I was looking for something with a punch. Yeah. They offered me that. Then they offered me other different drinks that I had been going consistently, and they, kind of helped me walk through that journey because I felt welcomed enough by the barista to say, hey, I really don't know what to get.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, do you like this? Do you like this? Do you like this?
Mm-hmm.
And I think for a barista, there should be some questions that you ask. You can pick up the vibe on somebody that doesn't know what they want, right? I mean, like, you know, if the person standing behind is like looking at the menu like, what do I get? Well, an easy thing to do would be to say, so do you like milk-based drinks, or do you like a cold drink, or do you like, what kind of drink do you like?
Sure.
And I can help you with that. But I think that's great customer service, which is really what you're looking for. You know, I enjoy the customer service side of it. I do.
Yeah, I think that's a business culture thing.
Correct.
You know, and that's where, when we refer to not just coffee here locally, that's really kind of where they thrive, is a good work culture,
Right.
and then it shows in their customer service component.
Right.
Yeah. And so I think that's a big part of it.
Can I give a pro tip to a baristas? So let me just say this. I had this recently happen to me, but they made a drink and they asked me what hand I was, if I was right-handed or left-handed. Okay. So I got a cup that I was going to drink in the store, and they made my latte art to face the correct direction of the way I was holding the cup.
That's impressive.
It was, I mean, like,
pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, not that a latte art is everything, but I'm going to now take a phenomenal photo because it's facing the correct direction.
It's all for the gram.
Well,
All right.
know.
Yeah.
But was the latte good because the art was good?
So look, if you've got some characteristics
Yeah.
of a great coffee shop, please leave them in the comments. I mean,
Absolutely,
seriously,
yeah.
I know we're not the end all. You know, we have a lot of fun with this. We play into the snobbery a little bit, but we also are really trying to, you know, help you when you walk into a coffee store or coffee shop. Really, here's some things that we think are going to make a good coffee shop. They're not certains, they're not guarantees, but there are things. So if you've got a good characteristic or a great coffee shop in your area, please leave it in the comments.
Yeah.
We'll travel and go taste it.
Yeah, most definitely. Now, here's a question. We referenced Starbucks earlier. What
Yep.
if you live in an area where there is no other local coffee shops and Starbucks is your only option?
I think there are drinks that you can get at
Yeah,
Starbucks
absolutely.
that are, just know that you're going to get dark roast. I mean, like, even their light
Yes.
roast is dark roast. So everything's going to have that oily taste.
Yeah. What are some drinks that, let's say, are hard to mess up? That, like, if you're going to a Starbucks, you're traveling, or you just don't have access to
A coffee milkshake.
Well, milkshakes are always delicious. They are full of sugar.
Yep.
But seriously though, what are like a couple different options maybe for somebody who's like, maybe they're just venturing into the world of coffee and they're like, well, let me just start with Starbucks. It's the most approachable.
Well, I think a small Americana with some water removed out of it, telling them not to fill it all the way up.
You know, that's the truth.
Seriously.
They ask you get an Americano there, because I've done that before, and
It's one shot. It's 1 ounce
it's
of
one
coffee.
shot and 15 ounces
Seriously,
of water.
I think it's honestly 1 ounce of coffee and then 10 ounces of water.
It's
It's
crazy.
very high.
Ugh,
It is,
does not
yes.
sound very good.
Now, I guess we do need to clarify this, because I don't think we talked about this before. We were all gold card carrying members of Starbucks at one point in time.
I wasn't gold, but
I
I
was
mean,
in there. What was it called?
Did
The
you get
Star
gold?
Club or something?
Did you get gold?
I don't remember what it was, but
Oh.
I would get a free birthday
now,
drink. And
Chad was a Chad was a multi-member gold member.
I was gold, and I maintained it for a long
And
period of time.
Chris, our engineer behind here, he was like,
He's
a
crawling
gold-
under the table.
He was a
for
gold card
embarrassment. What's
member.
up with that?
I mean, seriously, he may be a franchise owner.
Yeah.
So Chad, you obviously then frequented Starbucks. What were you getting when you were going
That's
there
where
so
I
much?
worked. I mean, literally, this was before we had office space. I mean, that was my office, so I spent quite a bit of time.
So you'd
there.
order one small drink and sit there for 8 hours.
Most of the time, I ordered more than one. Okay. Yeah. I mean, but yeah, lattes. Probably a mocha latte was probably
A mocha. That's
a
something
go-to.
a lot of people.
Chocolate
yeah.
latte.
Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, you only taste chocolate and
Yeah. And I think for a lot of people, that's a good coffee drink. You can get good drinks at Starbucks. I think one of the things that's difficult for me to tell you a good drink at Starbucks is I have slowly refined my palate. And it's not that I don't think that Starbucks makes great coffee. It's just I like a different flavor. It's the same with somebody in a beer. Like people
true.
love Budweiser, and then people love IPAs. Or once you've had a Ruth Chris steak or a high-end steak, it's. I mean, right?
Once you have steak on a 500-degree plate, I mean,
seriously.
No, but the is it 500 or 800 degrees? Whatever that is.
I have no idea.
Once you touch it, it's hot. No, but we were going somewhere with that. I don't like dark roast or Italian roast coffee. I don't like Sumatra, and I don't like hazelnut.
Okay,
like all of those things, I'm just
not a fan.
Yeah, like if I take a sip of it and I'm like, yep, I'll leave that one right there on the table. It's just not good. So that's why those preferences kind of happen. You kind of
and like the milk-based drinks are going to cut some of that heavy.
They are.
So maybe that's like a latte or
and if you douse it with chocolate or vanilla syrup, then
dude,
kill it with sugar, get the diabetes.
The diabetes. All right. Well, I think that about wraps up today's topic for the time being. So tell us what's on the next one.
On episode 6, really looking forward to that. We're going to be doing a deeper dive into true coffee snobbery. We're going to look at coffee beans and talk about where they're grown, how they're processed, and some of the different roast profiles. So join us next time on episode 6 of the Coffee Snobs. And for today, thanks again for listening.
Yeah.
Reach out to us if you like this. Please leave a like or review on iTunes, Google Podcast, anywhere you get your podcast, or YouTube. And if anybody wants to reach out to you, Aaron, where can they reach you?
The Instagram, Aaron Beaver, AARON, BEAVER. YouTube at The Suffer Club. What about you, Chad?
Locdoc.net, LOCDOC.net/connect is the best way.
And you, Tyler?
On Instagram or Twitter as TYDANCY, Ty Dancy.
Well, that's it.
All right, guys, that wraps up this episode. Thanks so much for listening. We'll see you next time.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Hopefully we helped you take your coffee experience to the next level. Listen and watch with us every Monday as we explore everything coffee. You can find us on all major podcast platforms, and we would appreciate if you could subscribe and review on iTunes. Check out all of our video content on our YouTube channel, and you can connect with us by reaching out on social media and the web or YouTube. Thanks so much. We will see you again next time.